At 24,000 feet above the Pacific Ocean, where the air is thin, silent, and unforgiving, passengers aboard what should have been a routine domestic flight suddenly found themselves staring directly into the open sky. Not through a window, but through a massive hole where the roof of the airplane used to be. There was no warning, no explosion, no dramatic countdown. Just one violent, ear-shattering sound, followed by chaos, freezing wind, and the terrifying realization that the aircraft itself was being ripped apart while still flying at hundreds of kilometers per hour. Luggage, insulation, papers, and parts of the cabin were violently sucked out into the open air, as if the plane had been unzipped mid-flight. Oxygen masks dropped, screams filled the cabin, and for a few horrifying seconds, passengers believed they were witnessing their final moments. Yet somehow, against every expectation, the aircraft did not break apart completely. It did not spiral out of control. It did not immediately crash into the ocean below. Instead, it kept flying, wounded, exposed, and barely holding together. What happened next would shock the aviation world forever, forcing airlines, engineers, and regulators to rethink everything they believed about aircraft safety, metal fatigue, and the invisible dangers hiding beneath layers of paint. This is the true story of the day. A plane lost its roof at 24,000 feet. And what happened next? The aircraft involved was Aloha Airlines Flight 243, a Boeing 737-200, operating a short inter-island route between Hilo and Honolulu in Hawaii on April 28, 1988. At first glance, it was one of the most ordinary flights imaginable. The route was short, the weather was good, and the aircraft had completed this journey countless times before. The captain, the first officer, and the cabin crew had no reason to expect anything unusual. The passengers boarded normally, stowed their belongings, fastened their seatbelts, and prepared for a flight that would last less than an hour. But hidden beneath the plane's smooth white fuselage was a silent danger that had been growing for years. Microscopic cracks in the aluminum skin, slowly spreading with every pressurization cycle the aircraft experienced. Unlike long-haul aircraft that fly fewer cycles per year, inter-island planes like this one took off and landed multiple times daily. Each takeoff pressurized the cabin, each landing depressurized it, and over tens of thousands of cycles, the metal began to weaken. This phenomenon, known as metal fatigue, was not new to aviation, but the scale of its impact on aging aircraft was still underestimated at the time. On that day, Flight 243 climbed smoothly to its cruising altitude of around 24,000 feet. Everything felt normal, until it wasn't. Without warning, a section of the fuselage above the passenger cabin suddenly failed. A massive portion of the aircraft's roof tore away in an instant, stretching from just behind the cockpit to several rows down the cabin. The decompression was explosive. Air rushed out violently, creating a deafening roar. Passengers were slammed against their seats. The temperature inside the cabin dropped instantly. Loose objects were sucked into the sky. One flight attendant, standing in the aisle at the moment of failure, was tragically pulled out of the aircraft and lost forever. Inside the cockpit, the pilots were thrown forward. Instruments rattled violently, and communication became almost impossible due to the noise and chaos. Yet the structure of the aircraft, though severely damaged, remained partially intact. The pilots, relying purely on training, instinct, and raw skill, immediately began an emergency descent, fighting the controls while struggling to breathe and communicate. The plane was never designed to fly without a roof, yet it somehow responded. The crew managed to reduce speed, stabilize the aircraft, and turn toward the nearest airport. Passengers, many injured by debris and sudden decompression, clung to their seats, some holding on to loved ones, others frozen in shock as the sky rushed past above their heads against overwhelming odds. The pilots landed the aircraft safely at Kahului Airport on Maui. Emergency crews rushed in, stunned by what they saw. A commercial jet missing a massive section of its upper fuselage, yet still on the runway. The investigation that followed would uncover alarming truths. Inspectors discovered widespread corrosion, cracking, and structural failure caused by years of high-frequency flight cycles, combined with environmental exposure from salty ocean air. Maintenance inspections at the time were not designed to detect this level of hidden fatigue across bonded fuselage joints. The accident became a turning point in aviation history, exposing how aging aircraft could fail in ways no one had fully anticipated, and proving that sometimes the most dangerous threats are the ones you cannot see. The survival of Aloha Airlines Flight 243 was not just a miracle. It was a warning written across the sky. A warning that technology alone is never enough without constant vigilance, humility, and respect for the invisible forces working against it. That aircraft should not have survived. The laws of physics did not promise a happy ending that day, yet human training, calm discipline, and structural resilience combined to prevent a tragedy of unimaginable scale. But the cost was still real. One life was lost. Dozens were injured, and the illusion that modern aircraft were immune to age was shattered forever. In the years that followed, aviation regulations changed worldwide. Inspection programs became more aggressive. Aging aircraft received new scrutiny. Engineers redesigned maintenance schedules to account for repeated stress cycles, not just flight hours. Every rivet, every seam, every layer of metal became a potential failure point demanding attention. Today, when you step onto a plane and fasten your seatbelt, you are benefiting from lessons learned through moments like this. Moments where disaster came terrifyingly close, yet humanity pulled back from the edge. The story of the plane that lost its roof at 24,000 feet reminds us that safety is not built on perfection, but on learning from failure. And every safe landing since that day carries the silent legacy of those terrifying minutes in the Hawaiian sky when an airplane flew on without its roof and changed aviation forever.